On today's Minute of the Apes, I've pulled off my sweatshirt to reveal even more Big D. And when I walk with a gun, I walk with a swagger.
Divine bomb.
They are the good human and the dead human.
There is fire, there is smoke.
Now fight like
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Todd, and across from me with his big D is Richard. Sean, you don't even measure up today because you have Astrobase Go. You're not important. I got Big D across from me.
You can't get away from his Big D.
I can't.
As much clothes as you take off, you keep showing him it's Big D.
The CrossFit gym that I came up with, his name was Big D. And so I own just a ridiculous amounts of swag that say
stuff.
Big D on it. It is not lost to me that I was wearing a Big D shirt under the Big D sweater.
Well, before it was your Big D's because it was the boob element of it when your mic was pointing in the right. No, ma'am. Nope. We're not.
But Gertie,
Sorry, we had a Gertie moment.
we have a Gertie helping us out,
Come here.
being
Come
an
here, baby.
engineer.
Come here. That's right. We don't need to chew on cables.
Come here, Gertie.
But now Richard peels off a shirt, and there he is, just with the Big D.
No, I'm still wearing a shirt.
Oh wait! Boom.
Hey,
I mean, this is that kind of podcast, but we can turn to that kind
Audio
of podcast.
files that I need to have on record. Rim shot. Richard. All right, here we are, Wednesday, and
I'm always into rim shots.
well, wow. So that's it for today. We will not top that moment.
he's also into topping.
I have no problem topping anything. It's fine.
Wow. Do I need to go back to the monkey screens again? Richard's
He has
really
no
working
problem.
blue today.
He has no problem,
But not
blowing
blue
things.
balls.
Hey.
Oh, okay. With that, Sean, please tell us what's going on.
All right, we're going to start minute 53 with "oh" and "ow," and ends with Thade asking for his hands to be untied.
Has there ever been an
do like
intro
that.
to the clip that is more apropos to what's
No.
happened? Oh, and
Oh,
ow.
ow.
All right, here it comes, minute 53. Planet of the Apes.
These things hurt. What? The hell are you doing?
You could use that against us. I can't allow that.
Who would have meant such a horrible thing?
That thing was gonna keep us alive.
We're better off without it. What do you mean, we? Must you be so difficult? Why don't I act more like a slave? No, that's not what I
All right,
meant.
shut up! It goes for all species.
If ever I thought that those humans were capable of kidnapping my daughter,
Don't blame yourself, Senator. Your family, above all, have been compassionate with the humans. Look how they've repaid you.
can you find her?
If you untie my hands.
As of minute 53, you have an Oberon's worth of apes and humans, 2 displaced pods worth of humans and apes, wild humans, Ape City, and humans still on the loose.
All right, as Burn, see what I did? I remember his character's
Burn,
name.
yeah, there you go.
Gets into, what is now, Paul? I forget his name now.
Limbo?
Limbo. I wanted to call him Virgil, and I knew that was from the last movie. Virgil was the last
Yeah.
movie. Limbo. Burn shackles up Limbo. We go on. Leo starts his walking and talking again before the, I guess he's a silverback gorilla, takes the gun and smashes it. So that gun also
Very fragile,
explodes.
yeah.
When you smash it, it
Don't
explodes.
drop it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's a cheap toy. Go ahead.
So we get a couple of one-shots back and forth. We get some exchange amongst everybody as they fight amongst the trees and begin to walk away, which also they do the peel away, walk away, which is Leo walks first, Estella goes after, and everybody goes, oh, I guess we'll follow. They then go, we get the wide shot of Ape City, and pretty much the rest of the minute is a walk and talk between the Senator and Thade as they walk along. And we get a nice little cross cut of some action in the background as a bunch of gorillas walk camera left to center frame. All right, so here we are. We shackle him up, and he gets these things hurt. So the guy that's a slave trader gets to feel what it's like to be treated.
I know what it feels. Oh no!
But there's again, this is a comedy moment. There's no sense of like,
ow, it hurt. These things are bad.
Oh, it's so bad.
I mean, heck, if you look at him in the background, whenever they are finishing their scene, like he even makes a face whenever he's being shoved to walk forward. It's like, oh my goodness, really? We're gonna have to walk all the way there. I mean, he is playing up his role.
You would hope that when he's shackled, if you want to do that with these things hurt, if you want to actually do it, then Byrne would be able to adjust the nature of how tight they are.
Oh yeah, you could say these things hurt, and then he just does it a little bit tighter on him.
Or you don't even have to even say these things hurt. If it could just be him shackling and then looking at him, and maybe he's been mistreated, and he just tightens him, and it's like, you can convey that without words.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things with this movie that's kind of bugging me is the cartoon nature of the silly comment to the action instead of seeing an action itself.
And it would have been worthwhile to have Byrne give us some sense of reversing the role here.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to have something where he's actually getting some type of excitement or thrill or justification or
revenge.
Revenge. Like he's being particularly cruel to Limbo when he's not, and Limbo doesn't react like any of that's happening.
I also look at Byrne's face, and it's at 1 second where we see the scars upon his face.
Right.
Oh yeah, like
those
under
are
his eyes
pretty
and
interesting scars.
Mm-hmm.
Why haven't we seen maybe what they mean? Is it, or do the apes?
Is this how many times he's escaped? Is this how many owners he's had?
Or is it something he does to himself as a symbol of keep away from me, I'll hurt you?
Or is it something that the apes do to humans, just like we will clip dogs' ears or clip their tails? Do they like to put these scarifications on humans because it makes them look so pretty? And now you know it's mine. It's just a brand to know it's a person.
And we've not seen that kind of scarring on anyone else to this point.
Not that I'm aware
God
of.
knows Estella doesn't have it.
No.
You know, her face is pristine.
Chris
Her skin's really good.
Christopherson might have had some scars, but that might have just been from his life. Who knows?
But because this guy because he's black, we felt like we had to actually put tribal scars on him.
Yeah.
I that's what I thought when I looked at it. I thought, okay, is this just a cheap moment? And I hate to be that way, but still, it comes off cheap if you're not going to explain the hows and whys, or at least give me the idea that that's their culture before they're taken away by the apes and put somewhere else. So we push them off and we begin the walk and talk. And again, the gun is taken.
Yeah.
So
smashed.
I just want you to notice the 2-foot step that Marky Mark makes and how much swagger he's got.
And those 2 steps,
his whole shoulders move. He's like, I'm a bad
ass. He pops those hips. He gets everything
he does.
going. Yeah.
It's 2 steps, and he is showing you
You can feel the catwalk bounce.
That's right. That's right. This is his finest acting moment of this movie so far.
You know what that brings to mind suddenly when you said it is Zoe
Saldana?
No, Kravitz.
Okay.
Talked about how to find the Catwoman character for the Batman, that everything for her was the walk.
Okay.
And she said, and I wanted a model's walk. And she said, and I knew what I was doing, but I needed to exude that femininity and that cat-like swagger. It feels the same here. It's like, why is this important? Why is this the most important physical gesture you've done? Fuck you, man.
But he hasn't walked like that so far. I would have noticed it.
Maybe it's because he shot his gun twice.
I guess it. Yeah. No, but it's really dramatic.
It's incredibly dramatic.
I do love the fact that the ape does not refer to the gun as sorcery or anything. The airplane came through, or not the airplane, the pod came through, and he didn't see that, but he was claiming it could be sorcery that caused these holes. But he grabbed his gun and smashed it. He's fine. He's not no claims of sorcery with a gun now. He just get that shit away.
Well, so let's also talk about how dumb Leo must be as he walks away and doesn't put that gun away, doesn't do anything.
Yeah, secure it more.
That is the most dangerous weapon I think any of us have seen that someone can carry in their hand.
Right.
And he's just walking around with his dick out.
And allows Krull just to take it from him and smash it.
And so then... Okay,
and we also talked about it in your recap. That is an explodey gun when it gets smashed.
But so I know that gorillas are strong, but it's also a weak gun.
Yeah, because it's made out. That metal should be stronger than being able to be smashed.
I'm not going to ice those cookies anymore.
So we get and that it's as big as a relative explosion when he smashes it as it is when they shoot it.
Yeah,
and I say relative in the nature that no, there's no fireball, but dear Lord. And why doesn't he come up with a burned hand?
Well, yeah, very just as surprised as they were whenever Davidson shot twice and everybody's freaking out by it, he should have been just as freaked out by the big explosion when the gun blew up.
Right. They're not reacting.
Because he doesn't know that the gun, from his perspective, I'm smashing it, so it's going to break. He doesn't know there's going to be an explosion, so he should be surprised by the explosion.
He should be. And okay, so to be fair, we don't know that he hasn't seen a gun somewhere in his life somehow.
This is literally my next note. I'm wondering, does this movie have guns for the apes? We haven't seen that so far because in previous movies, they've always had guns. Like the first movie, they came out of the bushes hunting humans. They had rifles. They were hunting. So guns were not a new thing for apes in the previous movies. Now I obviously screwed it up in previous minutes for future minutes, but do guns exist in this society?
And has this particular ape
seen a gun before?
But Helena says, who would invent such a horrible thing? I mean, it's so vague enough that it doesn't sound like they know what guns are, but they're reacting as if they've seen guns before.
I can drink a Truly and say, who would make such a horrible thing? That doesn't mean I haven't drank another fizzy drink before.
But to be fair, if the gorilla has seen guns, because there's obviously a relationship between him and Michael Clark Duncan's gorilla. They know each other somehow.
Yeah.
There's something between them. Perhaps he's an old military person. Perhaps he saw a gun.
Maybe they're brothers.
Maybe they've seen something like that. So he knows to smash it because he knows how dangerous it can be. Helena may never have seen it. And so her comment
fair.
Who would invent such a thing could be still naive enough if they cut back to the gorilla, if his eyes shifted away like, I've seen this before and I can't tell her. But there's not even any of that.
We jump back briefly into the guns are bad. We're better off without it. Right? The destruction of the guns, we're better off without it. So we're moving into something that's both last minute and this minute about guns and about a little more about slavery as well. But the banter between Ari and Dana is just, again, comedic.
Well, real quick, you get rid of the gun, you've also taken away Davidson's one advantage over the apes because the apes can jump. The apes are stronger. We know that. But if Davidson has a gun, first time Thade shows up, I shoot Thade, movie's over.
Well,
when trouble shows up, I shoot it, and it's over. This way, Davidson has to rely on his wits, on his physicality, whatever. He doesn't have
his acting skills.
So he's fucked.
Why even introduce the gun at this
to get
point?
rid of it? Well, I don't know. Maybe future minutes will tell us. Who knows?
And maybe that's it. Maybe they're trying to set up some reveal later on that there's something, but it just...
But yeah, it was very short use.
We literally got this less than 10 minutes ago, and we've already destroyed it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the equivalent of a James Bond movie where they show you all his devices, and then he gets one of his devices, and the first time he uses it, it blows up on him. He can't use it anymore. Well, why do you even show us that device?
Right. Yeah. It's a waste of resources, waste of time. Also, I now know how to act like Marky Mark. All you have to do is flare your nose. And just look like the who farted. Because when his reaction when the gun gets blown up is...
Well, also, look at him in the background there.
Hang on, I got to put my...
Is that literally what we're doing?
Well, no, mine just happened to be paused at the perfect spot, but look at him in the background there. He's smelling the fart.
He literally... the cutaway, after they blow up, it looks at him and he has the flared nose who farted. Jesus, this is repulsive.
That's all I'm going to see now is Marky Mark smelling a fart.
Smell the fart.
Great. I got 50 more minutes of smelling farts.
Again,
fart
put this guy in The Departed. Put this guy in Boogie Nights.
The Defarted.
It is The Departed.
Booger Nights.
Wow. Defarted and Booger Nights. That's the name of this episode. Poor Marky Mark. I like him in so many things, but it's just in these moments he doesn't seem, and especially when he's up against people like Helena and Paul, he doesn't have this level of complexity to what he's bringing to the moment. Even the silverback gorilla that exchanged it has a domineering, like, quiet presence. What does Marky have? He has an acute sense of fart. He smells. Okay, so then we cut over to the Ape City. By the way, is this city completely possessed with mist, by the way? Every shot has mist. What is it you want to bring back?
You didn't want to talk about Ari's little pout face whenever she's... tells
what do you mean we
and then the little pout face whenever it's like we gotta go
yeah
at 24 seconds
she definitely gets that.
And then you have Limbo being pushed forward and he's like woo
And that's what I was talking about. It's like, here comes the comedy scene again. Oh my goodness, we're really going.
Well, they almost should have just leaned into the fact that he was supposed to be a comedic character. If they were going to, it's an absurd Tim Burton ridiculous character.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I can understand the duality of he's a monster because he's a slaver, but also he's funny because he's the comedic character.
Right.
But yeah, pick a lane, maybe.
Yeah. So then we cut over to the Ape City, and like I said, everything here, and I get it. You do it because you want to see light seeping out of corners and whatnot. But this is the mistiest fucking planet in the world.
Is it really that smart to put a torch right next to a tree? Like, look at this one. The one that's burning right here is like burning on the branch itself. Isn't that going to start the whole thing up? Anyway, sorry.
It is.
So we've got Thade and Sandor. Thade and Sandor.
And he believing that his daughter has been kidnapped.
Oh, well, real quick. In the opening shot, the three people walking, like, with an urn, the incense, like, what's going on there? So there's obviously some sort of religion. You can see three people in red robes at the very bottom with some sort of...
Was that shot for something else and put here?
Yeah, I mean, what's the point of that? What are these people doing?
Oh, that's a good point, because once we jump to Thade and Sandor, they're gone.
They're not there. They're not
What was the name of the god that they mentioned earlier?
Seamus, I think it was.
So why is it so far...
Seamos.
Why is it so far that we get that wide shot with some weird street preacher talking about Seamus?
Yeah.
And then we get this wide shot of people with incense and almost looking
you think
like...
there was something that was supposed to be used for another point? Maybe.
But why is also Seamus and any kind of religious symbolism only shown in wide shots? Why aren't we actually shown this religion and whatnot? Bless you, Sean.
I got one more.
Okay. God knows, and I'm not a God person, but he needs to be blessed.
Yeah,
so that's the reason.
15th time's a charm. It's the McCarthy curse.
Oh. Shelley literally, like, because when I sneeze, it's usually 3 times. And she's like, got one more? And I'm like, Jesus, stop it. That's always when I can't do it.
I love the fact somebody pointed out Trump lost in a race that he wasn't even running in this time. He loses so much.
So we cut in and we see these people walking along, blessing the scene or whatever they're doing.
Right.
They're adding the smoke for the
they
atmosphere.
are adding the smoke. What would be interesting is if maybe they felt like they needed to cleanse the scene from whatever had happened. That would even be interesting if they're doing it. But they're just there for no reason. We don't know what they are.
It'd be interesting if we'd see them carrying away what's his name's body.
Yeah.
That would give us a sense of why they're there. But Sandor is a senator, right? Mm-hmm. And we see him in a blue robe along with 2 other apes in blue robes as well, walking around as if they've just, I'm going to assume, come from some type of council. Because remember, Thade told Atar that he was going to tell him that his daughter was kidnapped and that he was going to use this in front of the Senate. But we don't actually see a Senate building. We just know that Sandor is a senator and there are 2 other apes walking in robes as if they're about to go somewhere or they just came from somewhere. Like, I would have liked to have seen the assembly. I would have liked to have seen the pitch. I would like to see them walking out of the chambers. They're just walking in the city streets.
Well,
I was also trying to figure out the height difference between them. And David Warner's 6'2". Tim Roth is 5'7". So there is a literal height difference between them. I didn't know if that was for the characters to try to make him seem a little superior or inferior and superior, but that is a physical difference.
I literally have a problem too to what Richard was saying about, like to see them leaving the congressional Senate type thing. I have a problem with, if I ever thought these humans would kidnap my daughter, why wasn't he told that? Okay, so we escaped the city. We've talked about, we should have seen Thade and whatnot, prohibited from chasing. Something gets pulled down and they can't repeat the chase. We then, for this scene to work, should have seen a moment of Thade going into the senator, there's been an issue.
I need to speak to you.
Yeah, something that says that. Then if he makes this leap to knowing about it, and we don't have to see him being told his daughter's been kidnapped.
I mean, they told us that's what he was going to do.
Yes, and we need those moments of escalation. Even drawing the senator in, you can't pull him out in without making it real to him.
Well, it's gonna stop before we actually get to the next minute. I think that's gonna be relevant for the ask in the next minute.
Okay.
Very much so, right? Don't blame yourself, Senator. Your family, above all, tried to be compassionate to humans, and look at how they repaid you. Can you find her if you untie my hands. I found that such a weird
I want to actually
phrase.
I actually really want him to say if you untie my hands and feet because they use their feet just as much as they use their hands.
Well, we had Davidson 2 minutes earlier saying cuff
play
it.
dead. Oh yeah.
Cuff it,
Yeah.
cuff him, cuff it, and now we're saying untie my hands, and I just think there's a dialogue opportunity missed to connect those moments together.
That's a good idea.
Like it's
You
a weird
uncuff me or something like that.
Yeah, if you uncuff my hands, something.
But I
something-
also think that we've got, and they kind of alluded to it when Thade first shows up, where he talks about the Senate and all that, kind of, putting restraints upon him. I think that conversation needed to go deeper for this to resonate, that he's somehow impeded from doing what he needs to do.
Right. We don't have the sense of, other than what's been told to us, of the discord between the Senate and the military.
Right.
We've been told that it exists. Or we've been told that Sandor is one of the ones who, likes the humans more because his daughter Ari is there. And Thade really needs more power. And saying, if you untie my hands, does not tell me that he wants more power in this moment.
Yeah. Right.
It just doesn't resonate with any type of urgency, other than the fact that it's just that Thade told Atar what he was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're kind of seeing that happen, but we're not seeing it in the Senate chambers. We're not seeing it with any urgency, any danger. It's just they're just walking and talking at this particular point, about to walk into the bodega and get some gum.
I wonder if they kept away from the Senate chambers because they think it's boring, and then to go to that point, I'll step to the prequels where there's Senate chambers and people are like, you can't bore kids with Senate discussion. You can
kids love nothing more than trade discussions.
But at the same time, you can in the original Star Wars, you had around the round table when they talk about strangling the systems and this. You can have moments where you talk about the tensions if you make them actually resonate within the story. And if it isn't just boring political idealism, but actually relevancy to explaining what you're seeing, you could do it. And this movie needs it. We need some sense of what the world is that these apes have created, why they're putting handcuffs on their own people to control that societal norm. There's none of that. And it comes in again where we've talked about what is this movie about? What's it trying to say? And Richard's right. These past few minutes have at least gotten into a little bit of these ideas. But you needed something way before almost the halfway mark of a movie to make this resonate. Richard's over there punching buttons. I think he's doing.
He has a little work to do.
We only get his big D's whenever he can get away from the comics.
Sorry.
I'm kidding.
Rick
But again, this just doesn't resonate because there's not enough to set it up to make what they're saying not make sense, but have purpose.
Okay.
So I think that's
and with
it.
that,
I look over and Richard's sort of looking at me, and that is usually your face when I know we're done. When you kind of look at me and go, and I know no one can see it, but he looks away from me just a little bit.
We've reached a point where the last half of this minute is this conversation, right? And we've only had a few lines, and more can be said about this when we get into the next minute when we're actually having the deeper conversation.
Okay, well then let's adjourn for now, and we'll come back tomorrow, because what we're doing now is we're talking about the things that we'll set up tomorrow, which is if they had done that correctly, then it would have actually worked. So with that, everyone, have a great day.
Take a nap and talk about it later.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.